Time for a thing that I hate. Alrighty, so this shall be many things that I hate. Many things that I hate. So, hilariously, the last 2 days have seen a bunch of endorsements for Joe Biden. All it took was for everyone else to endorse Joe Biden for Barack Obama to endorse Joe Biden. So this morning, Barack Obama came out and endorsed Joe Biden. He said, "I'm proud to endorse my friend Joe Biden for president of the United States. Let's go." Well, here we are. I guess everybody else is out of the race. I guess it's a year since he declared, and I didn't endorse him. I'm basically useless. I led from behind, did nothing for a year. I am a good friend. I'm the best friend. I'm the guy you call when every other person will not drive you to the airport and all the cabs are broken. And then maybe I'll drive you to the airport, maybe not. Maybe I'll do it after the plane's left. That's what I do. I'm the president. Barack Obama. Love you, Joe. That's what this is. So I love the fact that Barack Obama's endorsement is actually less impactful than Bernie Sanders' endorsement at this point because he waited so long. Like, imagine if Barack Obama had endorsed Joe Biden before South Carolina. Then he'd be getting all the credit. But Obama never had any coattails, not for any other Democrat. Right? His Democratic Party got wiped out while he was president, wiped out in Congress, wiped out in the Senate, wiped out on the gubernatorial level, wiped out in the state legislatures. And this is one of the reasons why, because for all the talk about how Donald Trump is an egotist, which he assuredly is, Barack Obama is a massive egotist as well. And he was not willing to jump on the Joe Biden bandwagon, specifically because he was concerned that Joe was old and senile, which, by the way, Joe Biden is old and senile. You may have noticed this. So that was the second most important endorsement of the last 24 hours. The first most important endorsement was Bernie Sanders. I have to admit, I do love the fact that Bernie Sanders just cut off Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez at the knees. It is beautiful. So yesterday morning, there was a piece by Astiat Herndon over at the New York Times called "Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez has never spoken to Joe Biden. Here's what she would say." In an interview, Ms. Ocasio-Cortez said she intended to support the presumptive Democratic nominee, but the process of coming together should be uncomfortable for everyone involved. And so she wanted to make demands of Joe Biden so that the entire progressive wing would get behind the Joe Biden campaign. She said that the Biden campaign had not reached out to her. She said, "There's this talk about unity as this kind of vague kumbaya kind of term. Unity and unifying isn't a feeling, it's a process. And what I hope does not happen is that everyone just tries to shoo it along and brush real policies. That means the difference of life and death or affording your insulin and not affording your insulin, just brush them under the rug as an aesthetic difference of style. There's also this idea that if we all just support the nominee, voters will come along as well. I don't think this conversation about changes that need to be made is one about throwing the progressive wing of the party a couple of bones. I think this is how we can win." So she says that she wants the Medicare age lowered to 60. And they floated this olive, I love this. They floated this olive branch to the progressive left, she says, of lowering the Medicare age to 60. It's almost insulting. I think Hillary was looking at policies that lowered it to 50. So we're talking about a progressive concession that is tenure worse than the nominee we had back in 2016. Progressives aren't like a monolith. Like every voting bloc isn't a monolith, but I know from a Latino perspective, I think we need a real plan to be better than what happened during his service with the Obama administration. I love she says that progressives aren't a monolith, but there is a monolithic Latino perspective. Very interesting. And then she says that she wants some sort of concessions on deportations. She says if we're not talking about paths to citizenship for undocumented people, if we're just talking about policy changes of 5 or 10%, it's not about moving to the left. It's about who is able to find hope in your administration. So she has this long interview with the New York Times talking about all the things that she wants from Joe Biden in order for her to endorse. And 5 seconds later, Bernie Sanders gets on a live stream with Joe Biden and endorses. Now, the great shock here is that both of them were able to work the live stream. And that is clearly the great shock here. There must have been a grandkid nearby who was able to work the camera. But watching Stadler and Hofstadter from the Muppets talk to each other here was really an experience. Or Sam the Eagle and Larry David. That was really an experience. That's kind of what they look like here. Have you ever seen a show this bad? No, I've not seen a show this bad since I walked out on the Ford's Theater in 1865. Ah! And that's what this was. It was unbelievable. So Bernie Sanders finally endorses Joe Biden for president. Joe Biden's doing it from his well-lit basement. And his forehead continues to climb up his entire head. It now constitutes the entire front portion of his cranium. Like his forehead actually starts midway through the top of his skull and now descends all the way to his nose, Joe Biden's forehead. And then you've got Bernie Sanders, who's like, I know I'm irrelevant now, but I have one more shot to say a thing. And here I am. The best part of this is that it was a live stream where they were supposed to be casual and fun. And Joe Biden was desperately trying to read off a teleprompter during the entire thing because Joe Biden has lost all capacity for independent human thought. It's over for him. He has no capacity. Like he's a Joe Biden bot, but like a crappy bot version 0.7, not the one that was supposed to be released. He's AOL 1.0 with the dial-up connection. So, so here's Bernie endorsing Biden with sufficiently more enthusiasm than Joe Biden, who is not actually an alive person.
We've got to make Trump a one-term president, and we need you in the White House. So I will do all that I can to see that happens, Joe. And I know that there is an enormous responsibility on your shoulders right now. And it's imperative that all of us work together to do what has to be done, not only in this moment, but beyond this moment, in the future of this country.
Okay, and then Biden did a bunch of stupid things. So Biden thinks that the way that he is going to unify the party is by making all sorts of concessions to Bernie and by starting to mimic Bernie's policies. And this is pretty much the dumbest thing you can do. The reason that this is the dumbest thing you can do is because Biden's entire campaign, the reason he shellacked Bernie, and he shellacked Bernie way worse than Hillary shellacked Bernie in 2016, right? Hillary narrowly beat Bernie. Biden just killed him. I mean, Biden whomped him. He won 11 out of 14 Super Tuesday states. The moment that people saw Bernie as a possible front runner, Bernie collapsed in on himself like the Soviet economy circa 1987. Okay, and so why would you, at this point, attempt desperately to mimic Bernie Sanders' policies? You just killed him. He's dead already. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, the best move here that Joe Biden could have made was to completely Joffrey Bernie Sanders, right? Bernie bends the knee, and Biden just lops off his head and selects Amy Klobuchar as his VP or something.